Welcome back. Today, we're exploring the final principle, the sixth sense. Napoleon Hill described the sixth sense as a doorway to infinite intelligence. Sharon Lecter expands on this idea, encouraging women to trust their intuition, their inner voice, and the quiet guidance that's available when they slow down long enough to listen. I'd like to offer you another way to think about this. After everything we've explored together over the past 13 principles, I really don't believe your sixth sense is something you have to develop. I honestly believe it's something you remember. It's something that's been with you all along. A lot of women have spent years looking outside themselves for answers. We ask for opinions, approval, and gather more information, and we wait until we're absolutely certain before we make a decision. There's nothing wrong with seeking wisdom from trusted people. In fact, we've talked about the power of surrounding yourself with women who encourage your growth, women who are where you'd love to be. Here's the challenge: it's when someone else's voice becomes louder than your own, because over time, that quiet knowing becomes harder to hear. And it's not because it disappeared, but it's more because life got noisy. Think about everything you've practiced throughout these principles and our time together. You became clear about what you really wanted, and you strengthened your faith in yourself while changing the conversations happening inside of your own mind. And you learned to make decisions with greater confidence while practicing persistence when things became difficult. You surrounded yourself with women who challenged you to grow. This is powerful. And you discovered that your thoughts, emotions, and your daily choices all come together to shape your future. None of these principles were isolated lessons, and you know each one was preparing you for this moment, the sixth sense. It's what it begins to emerge when fear no longer makes every decision. It's a calm feeling that tells you something is right before you can explain why. It's a quiet nudge. It says, this isn't for you, even when everyone else thinks it's a wonderful opportunity. This is recognizing the difference between anxiety. Intuition becomes fear, tends to real urgent, yet we know intuition is calm. Fear is going to push wisdom, is going to invite. Fear fills your mind with endless questions. However, your inner knowing often arises with surprising clarity. That doesn't mean you'll always have every answer, and it doesn't mean you'll never question yourself again. But what it does mean is that you developed a deeper relationship with yourself. And you learn to notice what your body is telling you. And now you know that your values really matter. And along the way, you learn the boundaries create freedom and not distance. Now, what are the greatest gifts of this entire journey is that you no longer need to abandon yourself in order to belong. You can actually trust yourself. And I think that's when the greatest transformation a woman can experience. A wonderful example of this is Oprah Winfrey, because early in her career, she was told she wasn't the right fit for television news, and she didn't fit the traditional mold. And many believe she should change who she was to become more successful. But instead of trusting something outside of her, she trusts herself into authentically becoming someone who she is supposed to be. And this changed everything. Not only did she change her career, but the lives of millions of people around the world. Oprah's story reminds us that your greatest success often becomes when you stop trying to fit someone else's explanations and you start trusting your own inner wisdom. So, as you move through today, I would really love for you to reflect on these questions. When have you ignored your intuition only to realize later that it was trying to protect or guide you? Where in your life are you still waiting for someone else to give you permission to do what you already know is right? How would your decisions change if you trusted yourself just a little bit more? So, as we close this final principle, I would love to leave you with a few thoughts. First of all, your intuition is strengthened every time you choose to listen instead of dismissing it. Secondly, clarity often comes after you become quiet enough to hear yourself. And third, the greatest confidence does not come from having all the answers. It comes from trusting you'll know your next step when it's time to take it. And finally, remember that the first 12 principles were never separate lessons. We are talking about your life. Here, these principles are designed to prepare you to trust the woman you're becoming. Hey, I hope you leave this process with more than knowledge. I hope you leave with a greater trust, because when a woman trusts herself, she leads very differently. A woman will love differently, make decisions differently. She creates her life differently. And it's been such a blessing. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It has been an honor to walk beside you. Trust yourself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. I'm hoping that you can continue listening to your inner wisdom, honoring your values, and becoming the woman that you were always meant to be.